28th, 1986. This is Mary Ann Block and speaking, and we're interviewing my mother, Cecile Regina Friedman Ritzwaller. Hi, Cecile.
Hello, Mary Ann.
We'd like to find out a little bit about you today. Can you kind of start at the beginning and tell us when you were born and something about your parents and your past history, the best that you know?
Well, these are a few notes I put down. My mother's name was Minnie Cohen. Minnie Cohen Friedman was born in Kansas City, Missouri, October 13, 1892. She had two brothers, Louis and Adolph. After her mother died when she was young, she and her brothers went to live with an aunt and uncle, Mary and Jake Shinosky, first in Oklahoma, and then they moved to Texas.
Do you know where in Oklahoma?
Yeah, they lived in El Reno. In fact, they lived in Indian Reservation.
They lived on Indian Reservation?
Well, next to one.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells a story about she used to ride a pony called Snooker.
Can you tell us that story?
And she was riding it, and then she went into the Indian reservations, and it fell down right in the middle of a bunch of Indians. That was the story. I think she told you, too.
Uh-huh.
And, but after that, they moved to, another place in Texas, I can't think of the name.
Do you remember that story about the pony that when it got burned?
No?
No.
But she took it in the house, you think?
And rubbed butter on it?
No.
Okay.
And my father's name was William Lewis Friedman. He was born in Chicago.
Do you know when?
I'm not sure of his birthday or when. I think he was 4 years older than Mother. After he was...
Which would have been about 1888 that he was born.
I guess so. Maybe 5 years. And then he was born in Chicago, and they moved to Dallas, and then Fort Worth. He had two sisters, Bertha and Helen. No, not Helen. I can't remember her name. We never knew her. And a brother. His name was Adolph also. And I was born in Fort Worth on February 25th, 1916. We moved to Galveston when my father was in the cotton business. He died there during the First World War. It was an epidemic of flu.
Do you know how old he was when he died?
Well, Mother was... Well, he was 5. Started baking her bread there. I can't read my writing. Then we moved to 1116 South Henderson Street in a 4-plex apartment. And
what did Mimi do then?
My father left money,
Mm-hmm.
and she spent it. She didn't know how to handle money. But her uncle handled it for her and did her dirty. But in the apartment, her father lived with us. He was born in Germany. And
what was his name?
You should have reviewed his names. Jacob. No, Moses.
Moses Cohen. What was her mother's name? Do you know?
Yeah, Marie.
Marie.
Marie was named after her.
Mm-hmm.
And her grandmother's name was Cecile.
Oh.
That's what I was thinking. And Uncle Adolph lived with us too.
Who was Uncle Adolph?
Uncle Adolph Cohen. I said that was Mother's sister, brother. I told you earlier she had two
that's
brothers.
right. What was the other one's name?
Louis.
Okay.
I went to grade school at De Zavala School on College. Then Jennings Junior High School, where I was a cadet sponsor. And then Central High. I went to Texas University for 1 semester. My mother and sister and I moved to Oklahoma City in 1936. Marie had a job in the advertising department of Harry Cat's store, and it was during the Depression and no one had any money. I got a job selling millinery. It was one of the hottest summers when we moved there, and there was no air conditioning in those days. It was 113 degrees. We lived in an apartment, and everyone took cots out on the lawn and slept there. We used to go swimming in the evening. This is where I met David Ritzwaller.
Swimming?
Yeah, the whole crowd. I mean, it wasn't just a pickup, but everybody that we knew was out
swimming
there.
Pool.
Yeah. We were married in Fort Worth, July the 10th, 1938. We lived in San Antonio for about a year and then moved to Woodward, Oklahoma.
And how come you got married in Fort Worth?
I don't know. Except his folks lived in San Antonio. It might have been between...
Was Mimi's...
No, because Daddy was living in San Antonio then.
Oh.
So it was in between Forrest, I guess.
You mean Daddy as in Dave?
Dave, yes. And lived in San Antonio for about a year and then moved to Woodward, Oklahoma. That's our dad. Opened a dress shop. It was not very successful, and we moved back to Oklahoma City. My son Steve was born there in March 1943, and my daughter Marianne was born July 9, 1945. We lived in Oklahoma City for 20 years, and then moved to Fort Worth and went into the furniture business.
Now, did you live in Arlington for 1 year?
Yes, we did. That's right. Almost a year. And we had a store out there too, and then closed that and moved to Fort Worth.
Is that noise something he's doing?
I got my real estate license and sold real estate for a few years. And then in partnership with a builder, we built 40 patio homes that were sold very successfully.
Did you enjoy that?
I love that. I loved houses. After that, we started to travel and took many trips to the Orient, Europe, and many, many cruises. Some of the things when I was little that we didn't have, well, we had an ice box as there was no refrigerators. We traveled by train as there were no airplanes. Radios were very new, no TV. My first sewing machine was a treadle.
Well, tell me about your sewing.
Well, I started that in Oklahoma City. This old lady that lived next door had this treadle machine, and she wasn't using it, and I bought it from her.
Do you remember for how much?
Oh, probably $10. And I started sewing for Marianne because she was so little and couldn't find her clothes, and kept getting better and better, and started making most all my clothes. Here in Fort Worth, when I was little, we'd go to town on Saturdays at the streetcar and have lunch and go to the movies. In fact, we went to the movies 4 or 5 times a week in those days.